What up, people? This is how I mix each one of my drums to make it sound professional. I'm gonna show you how I do it. Let's get right in. So first and foremost, let's start off with the kick. And so for my kick, what I like to use first off in my chain, because the order matters, is this fruity soft clipper. And so right here, let's like turn the threshold all the way down, and then this post is actually going to determine how loud the volume is. And it's basically just like a volume increaser, but just not distorting the sound a lot. So yeah, I just open this up, the fruity soft clipper, turn my threshold all the way down. I got this tip from Busywork Beats, and then just turn this post knob just like a little bit up. It's not really that up right now. As you can see, it's like 85%. Oh, 85%. But yeah, that'd be the first effect that I have on my kick. The second one that I have on my kick is this pretty parametric EQ. Right here, I kind of took away some of the high end, just because I feel like those transients aren't really as necessary in a kick. Most of the meat's gonna be like down here. So I boosted it at 45, but this, along with my, well, the rest of the sounds, I changed the peak, because depending on the sound, like depending on the kick sound that I use for this, the peak is gonna be a little different from each of the sounds. So I load up a sound right here and just swap it right here. This peak isn't always gonna be at 45, like the meat of the kick. So let's say right here, this kick that I have loaded up, it's peaking a little bit more to the right. So one could argue right here would be like a better peak for it, so 54. And I always like to increase these peaks in all of my instruments that I'm going to show you. But the main thing about all these sounds is that I just want to open my DAW, just swap the sounds out and do as little editing as possible. So these are in my preset template. So after that, it's going to be my reverb. I don't really rock with like any little to no reverb on my instruments like that. I feel like the reverb helps it sound more real, but yeah, on my kick I have 0%. I think on the rest of my instruments I have like 2%. Delay, I used to use this delay all the time. So this delay, I got this tip from Busywork Beats again. Turn the time down, turn the level down, turn the dry level down, and then this cutoff will play around with the top end, and it'll just take away the high end to whatever limit you like. This helps it stick out more clearly. And then last but not least, on my kick, I use the Diablo plugin by Cymatics. I just got this a couple days ago. It's amazing. I really love this plugin. But yeah, I absolutely love this plugin. I feel like most of these presets, say for the kicks, it's just the equivalent of like increasing the velocity, like a lot of the kick to make it sound like it's just smacking harder. And some of these will just sound like an EQ increasing the top end a little bit to increase the clarity of the sound. But yeah, I'd rather that just load this up in Diablo and press 2 clicks instead of having to find like the EQ boost at the top end. But yeah, I have to get Diablo plugin as the last one on my effect right there. Yeah, those are my effects for my kick to make it sound punchy. So let's hear it without. Oh, huge. I apologize. I have it in mono. So I have my kick in mono. I have my 808 and my room, my snare in mono. So boom. So yeah, let's see what it sounds like without the effects. Let's see. With the effects. Oh my god. Yeah, it just sounds like punching, you know? And so next we got my hi-hats. So let's see this giant soft clipper again. I believe this level is the same soft clipper, just increasing the volume just a little bit and decreasing the threshold on the way. I believe that soft clipper is the same on all my sounds. And shout out Busywork Beats. EQ, obviously just, I took out the low end because same with the kick. The whole theory behind that is like you don't want, because these sounds do have frequencies in the low end, as this hi-hat would sound would have frequencies in the low end, and the kick would have frequencies in the high end, but it's just more prominent on one side of the frequency spectrum, and like the sounds on the other side, like these low end sounds are not going to matter at all. But if I were to have all these sounds kind of like not EQ'd and all kind of clashing with one another, one could argue it would just sound more muddy. If I were to clean these sounds up and just have the prominent frequency spectrum range like available in the sound, it's only going to sound cleaner. So yeah, and then lastly I have the Diablo plugin. I believe this is a snare preset. Oh, okay, kick preset on my hi-hat, just because it's not like a hi-hat preset right here, but I have the punch. I believe the punch was another one that like really prominently increased the high end. So put that on my hats because the high end is kind of what we're trying to boost. Instead of mono, I spread this out to a little bit of stereo. It's 25% separated on the stereo side. This is it without the effects. With the effects. sounds a little bit more crispy. That's not that big of a difference, but those subtle differences make a huge difference at the end of the mix. If you incorporate everything that we do. For the rim and the snare, again, we got the saw clipper. Boom. Same. So it's all the way down. If folks want a number, it's 85% that I set it at. I saw clipper. And the EQ, same rule, but I cut the low end out at 80 hertz. Just because all these frequencies right here, I feel like could be taken up by the kick and the 808, so I don't want those frequencies to clash, you know. See what it sounds like without the effects. With the effects. Okay, sounds like it's hitting a little bit harder, and of course it's louder. So what we got next? Our 808, cool. Soft clip on our 808, same thing. Boom, 85%. So our EQ, and so this one, it's at 65 because I believe I had my kick peaked at 45. The whole thing with that is kind of like to increase their peaks again. So those are pretty close, but let's see where this, you know, you could, if you wanted to, you could increase the peak at 34. Boom. Got the top end. And here we go, the Diablo plugin again. I have this on all my drums. So this preset that I used for this was the Smack. Cool. Yeah, a lot of these, yeah, obviously there's like a muffle plugin to take away the high end too. The Enhance and the Diablo plugin, that's like their version of the increasing the top end on the rim. I use Smack because I feel like Smack for me didn't take away a lot of high end, and it kind of made it more like just beefy and kind of hit harder. See what it sounds like without the effects. With the effects. Okay, sounds like it's hitting a little bit harder, and of course it's louder. So what we got next? Our 808, cool. Soft clip on our 808, same thing. Boom, 85%. So our EQ, and so this one, it's at 65 because I believe I had my kick peaked at 45. The whole thing with that is kind of like to increase their peaks again. So those are pretty close, but let's see where this, you know, you could, if you wanted to, you could increase the peak at 34. Boom. And then after that, fast distortion on my 808, just to add a little bit of distortion, not too much, just to make it sound like a little more beefy, and give it that like texture of just like rockiness all in your face. But I don't use a lot at all, as you can see. Let's see what it's on. You really hear like the fastest. I apologize if you folks can't hear it, but the fast distortion really kind of makes it, I don't know, I have that like gritty, kind of gritty sound, a little bit more beefy. Move to our open hat. Really kind of the same principles now. We got our 85% soft clipper. Again, we got our EQ booster. Just move this to wherever it's peaking. Oh. I guess we can adjust that. This one I kind of have peaked a lot. Reverb, rocking at 7%. There we go. Yeah, you can play around with that. I also used to love using this delay thing on my open hats, so I don't have it on right here, but yeah, just add a little sauce in the hats. You know, thick snare one. I have my Diablo plugin for the open hat. Bam, and let's see how it sounds without it. I don't have any mono or stereo set on this one. Let's see how it sounds. Not even close. And then I'll jump to our snare, because it's really like the same as my rim. I have my soft clipper. Boom, and then the snare, same thing. I cut the low end off at 80, which I believe is the same as my rim. And these peaks I found to be a little bit lower in the frequency spectrum in terms of like the smack. So I have one peak right there, and then I have another peak at the high end for my snare, which I absolutely love, having like clean sounding snares and then increase their high end. Beautiful. Now let's see how it sounds without the effects. With the effects. Cool. You always, those subtle differences sound a little more clean. It's a huge difference. And then my part, last but not least, this one I have preset in like a little ray gun type sound, like Black Ops. You guys on that ray gun sound, but yeah, I really only have a reverb right here. This reverb set on 50, just because like there's different sounds of different types of perks you could use. The word perk is really broad, but yeah, I'll just have like a reverb set at 50%. And this delay set, so I actually have this one on. Time knob, level knob, and dry knob set all the way down. This cutoff is set a little bit more down, so we're cutting off the high end a little more, just to really like tuck this perk sound in. And again, I have no mono or stereo on this perk. Let's see how it sounds without the effects. Yeah, just tuck the perk in a little bit more. Last thing I wanted to touch up on is this drum bus. I chain all these drum sounds, everyone that we just went through, over to this drum bus right here. And so what I like to do with this drum bus is I run all these sounds through a fast distortion. So all these, obviously I can't really show you how it affects like all these sounds at once. Let's see if I can go like this. Let's see with it. See, it kind of just like makes everything hit a little bit harder, sound a little bit louder, sound a little bit more clean. This distortion kind of adds like a little grittiness, but a little more thickness to these drums. So yeah, so I add this distortion to add just a little bit more beefiness to my drums. And a fruity compressor. So with this compressor, I have my ratio set at my threshold set at 11.9 dBs, ratio at 2.1. I have my attack at 30 milliseconds. And this has really just like, this compressor helps me capture any crazy transients. So let's say I had like a hi-hat or an open hat. These transients were like it's an open hat. If I really kept it at like a crazy peak, this compressor kind of helps all the sounds stay together and tames those transients. So no transients like sticking out and sounds really aggressive in terms of the relation to every other drum in the little drum sequence. So yeah, I have that after my fast distortion, and then I have another Diablo plugin set. Boom. Add body, just to add more width and add more like just girth to my drums. Because I love hard hitting drums. So let's hear what it sounds like without that. Let's see what it sounds like with it. Yeah, everything just hits a little bit harder. A little bit more saucy, and that's what we want. There you have it, folks. Please steal these things. These things have done me wonders. I really haven't changed like the main core principles of like soft flipper, EQ, reverb, and delay for like years. I mean, these things have not done me wrong. So, but yeah, if you folks did find something valuable in this video, please hit that subscribe button. I'll be posting plenty of videos like this in the future, and I appreciate y'all again for rocking me in this video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Deuces.